We are live. Hello, hello, and welcome to today's Confessions of a Global Changemaker show. I know every time I talk about how I've got this amazing, special, gorgeous human being, this amazing soul that has agreed to come and give us their time for 30 to 45 minutes. And I say it every time, but seriously, I do hang out with some absolutely shit hot, awesome people. And today you have another one who is the sister of a very dear friend of mine. Turns out we're all part of this same Awakening Giants docu-series. And whilst we haven't had the pleasure to actually meet physically yet, I know that I'm just going to love and adore this gorgeous woman when we actually meet face to face. So today we have the amazing Pamela Kirkpatrick. Pamela, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Pamela, where are you dialing in from today? I know you're in the States somewhere.
I am in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Okay. Yes, one of my favorite places, and I can't wait for all this stuff to be over. I was meant to be there in about a week, but so I'm not going to get to meet you in person this time, but certainly in June, I very much hope that we're going to get to spend some time together. Now, guys and girls, this is a great opportunity for you to ask a woman who is a sound healer, an activist, who has been a massive force for change, who has driven a lot of change on the planet, has formed a charitable organization, has changed the face of the brand of AIDS back in the 80s. I mean, this woman is a wonder woman of wow. If you were going to ask somebody, how do you build a global movement? How do you build a brand? How do you get a whole country to think in a different way by changing the leader of that country's opinion? And so I'm delighted that we're going to dig in deep with Pamela today. Pamela, are you a Pam or a Pamela?
You know what? Whatever you feel called to call me. Lots of people call me lots of things. Either one is fine.
You've got a bit of a delay. Pam? Is it Pam or Pamela?
Pamela.
Do you prefer?
That's fine. Pamela.
Guys and girls, can you hear me? Is it my end? If you could just give me like a thumbs up or let me know. Pamela, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
We seem to have complete silence.
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. Well, Pamela, let's dig in. Now, I remember a story that your sister, excellent. Your sister and I, this is how I remember Robin. And I didn't really know who Robin was. But whilst we were filming this, so we'd already gone through, okay, fab. So yeah, I've got a delay. So we'd already gone through the filming of the first Awakening Giants series. And I knew Robin from that series. And then they invited me to film for the next series as well, because they loved what I do. I love what they do. And so I flew back out and we did the Ecuador shoot. And that was the first time that I actually got to know Robin. And that was mainly because we were sat on a plane next to each other, flying over to the Galapagos. And she told me this incredible story about your mum going through the Holocaust and what she went through to bring both of you girls up. And I mean, it was just such a powerful story. And I was so privileged to have had access to that on that tiny little flight. Would you just dig into that and how your mum going through that experience, what did that do for you? What do you think that your life is different than it could have been had she not gone through that experience?
Yes. And, you know, one of the things I was going to speak about, so I'm so glad you asked this question, is that my mother would always, one of the things, many lessons.
I've got the delay, guys and girls. Bear with us.
Can you hear me?
Quite a significant delay.
Okay. I don't know if you can hear me or not. Can you hear me? Yep. Okay. So one of the things that my mother shared with me is that even in the darkest of times, in the darkest of places, there's beauty and miracles. And you have to live with hope in your heart. And so those are one of the things that stay with me so much. And in these,
yeah, we can hear you fine. Guys and girls, can you hear her as well? I can hear perfect.
okay, beautiful. I don't know where we are in the loop, so I might be repeating myself, but yes, my mother is a miracle. And she, at the age of 92, still wakes up and greets each day as possibility and that everything is possible. And so I would invite everybody in these dark times right now where we are being laid with fear to find the beauty that's all around us, whether it's inside of us, the beauty within, a flower, a beautiful aroma. There is beauty and miracles everywhere. And when we see somebody who is going through something that feels a little dark, when you look in someone's eyes and you can see that, share some of that love with them, send it their way so that you can be a catalyst for change in a positive way, even in the darkest of times.
And I would imagine that having come through the Holocaust and then, gone through that experience, lived to tell the tale, have two beautiful daughters. I don't know if there's more of you, but I know there's obviously you and
just
Robin.
the two of us.
But you both you and Robin have gone on to be massive change makers in what you're doing. Like, the pair of you are big forces to be reckoned with. And, you've gone off in these different directions, but there's one direction that actually binds the two of you. You both seem to be very, very good with money. So tell us a bit about how you got to where you are, and share with us what happened with the AIDS efforts that you got involved with, and what you did, and how did you create a movement around that, and where did you even get the idea to do it? How did it start? So many questions.
Well, the idea actually started from the founder of the organization, who was involved with hospice. And what happened originally in the beginning of the AIDS pandemic is that there was nothing. It was a death sentence, and people were being isolated. There was so much fear. And so we began asking the restaurants in New York City, to like 5-star restaurants, because this was going to be about eloquence and beauty, right? When people don't want to eat, when they don't feel well, right? They have horrible decisions to make. And so we had the best restaurants in New York City preparing 5-course gourmet meals. And we had a body of volunteers that brought the food to people. And then what ended up happening as the numbers grew, and exponentially, it's why I'm so reminded of what's happening right now with this virus, is that it began to be an opportunity for people to raise their highest self, their highest part of humanity, and share in a way. So I got the job to open a kitchen. And it's funny how it comes into play, again, with my mom, because I didn't know, what do you make for people who are sick with AIDS? We didn't know how you transmitted it. We didn't know what it did to you. We knew people were dying, and we knew people were wasting away. And so I thought, okay, how about, what did my mom make me when I didn't feel well? And so I started with homemade soups and things that were really beautiful, like colors that were beautiful to enliven the soul, the spirit. And we had people, the name of the organization is God's Love, We Deliver. And so I actually began with very few people. It was mostly a volunteer organization, and we had no funds. We had very little funds, let's put it that way. And we were able to put this together. I couldn't even get people to deliver food to the kitchen when I opened, because they were afraid that they could get AIDS from coming to the kitchen. So we were in a very precarious place, much like we are right now. And yet people came. And little by little, people began to, say, I want to volunteer. I want to prepare food. And one of the funniest things that comes to mind when we had holidays, we would ask our clients to invite somebody, because what's the point of having a holiday when you're sitting alone? And so we would allow them or ask them to invite at least up to 4 people. And I don't even remember what holiday it was, but I was making matzo ball soup. And so I had my mother on the phone, because this is sort of pre-cell phones, and all of the technology that we had right now is the mid-'80s. And I have my mom on the phone with people around me and boiling water, and I've gone through my mother's recipe, and it's time to drop the matzo ball into the pot. And she goes, okay, if it floats, you're good. And if it sinks, you're sunk. Because then they're like little lead balls. And it was like we dropped it in and the matzo ball floated and everybody applauded and we all laughed. And we began that way, and we began to appeal. When you ask, how do you create a movement? You create a movement by remembering that we're all one family. And I appealed to people's sense of love, and that there was no even guidance of where to raise money for people with AIDS, because it never existed before. So I looked at nonprofit organizations and, grantors, and thought, who likes to feed people? Who, is interested in education? And I began to craft something so that we could appeal to, I referred to them as all the angels of New York City. And people ended up coming in droves and began to open their hearts and their souls to caring for people with AIDS, which at that time was being touted as God's punishment for homosexuality.
I muted my mic there because there was a little bit of wind coming in on the wheelhouse. Wow, what a story! And that wasn't where the change stopped, was it? Because you made quite a controversial comment to was it the commissioner of New York City or someone? You made a comment that to you was absolutely like everyone else was like, you can't say that. Tell us about that moment.
So I was invited. Mayor Koch was the mayor at the time of New York City, and he invited me to Gracie Mansion. And I think he wanted to woo me to be his chef, his private chef, but I had a bigger mission. So I arrived at Gracie Mansion, and there was a large crowd of people, which included at the time Cardinal O'Connor, who was the head of the Catholic Archdiocese of New York City and the whole Eastern Seaboard, I believe. And as is like, I am one of those awakening giants that's a 5-foot tall giant. So I'm a short lady, but I tend to have these exchanges with tall, often men. And Cardinal O'Connor was a very tall man. And he had a priest behind him who was like his bodyguard, who was even taller than him. And for those of you that are young, of a different generation, you may not relate to this, but he looked like one of the Goonies from the cartoon Popeye. And he was standing right behind Cardinal O'Connor. And Cardinal O'Connor took me by the hands, and he looked into my eyes, and he said, I want to thank you for doing God's work. And I looked at him and I said, Cardinal O'Connor, with all due respect, I need to ask you, why aren't you? And there were gasps. You can't talk to the Cardinal that way. People had been kissing his rings and all of that. And we began to have a conversation. And I said to him that I was raised, that I was the daughter of a Holocaust survivor, and that I was raised, I didn't mean any disrespect to him or his religion, but that I was raised that we're all God's children, and that we all deserve to be loved, and we all deserve to be nourished when we don't feel well. and that the Catholic Archdiocese had the most amount of power in money, in people, in physical locations of properties owned by the church. And so I asked him, because at that time we would prepare the meals, they would be dropped off at a drop-off center, and then volunteers would take it to clients. And so with the Catholic churches all over New York City, it was a beautiful way to, it was something that I really wanted to include. Plus, I thought it would uplift the soul of the whole community. And so I talked to him about what it meant to be alone and sick and hungry. And after our conversation and the gasps died down, he looked at me and he said, "Thank you again for doing God's work." And 2 weeks later, he made the announcement that the Catholic Archdiocese was opening its doors to people with AIDS. Now, was it a direct outcome of our conversation? I don't know, but I think it was. I think I touched his heart, and I think he made change. And so it's about having the courage, sometimes even when there's tall people and even when there's people around you that make you feel that maybe you shouldn't say something, to listen with your heart and speak your truth, because that's how change happens.
And yes, and it seems that the core element of change is to actually speak to the heart, not to the head, which is a great message when, you know, when these big marketers or even small businesses are creating their marketing campaigns and it's all about facts and, you know, here are the features. Speak to the heart, because it's the heart that's calling. It's the heart that's urging for the change. You know, even if they can't hear it, if you can speak to the heart, and that's why stories are so powerful in any kind of brand building. If you're wanting to get people to build your community or build your movement with you and for you, then they've got to be, you know, I had, and this is how powerful it is. And I love what you're saying. I had somebody that I've known for many years reached out to me at the weekend, and she said, "Sammy, how do I get hold? I've heard about your One Drop movement. How do I get hold of a One Drop?" And I said, "Oh, well, you know, you can get it from me." I said, "How did you find out about One Drop movement?" She said, "Well, because one of my mentees, somebody that I coach, she was wearing a One Drop, and it was just shining. It was glowing from her chest as the light hit it. And I said, 'What is that around your neck?' And she told me the story of One Drop. She said, 'And I just love the story of One Drop. I have to have one.'" And I thought, wow, that's when you know, people that even that you've known for years, they might not know what you're doing now. So you've got to get those stories out. Like, you know, people really buy into a good story. Simon, I know you're watching now. He's just about to launch the Confident Kids Club. You need a good story. That's what's going to get those parents on board to be engaging with you. Yeah, I too believe that strongly. Listen with your heart and speak your truth. I don't know what your name is, darling, but it says Facebook user. I'm going to see if I can show your comment there. It won't let me do that, but okay. At some point it will let me, so I'll show your comment. But yes, it'd be if you click on the link with the video where we're streaming this right now. If you click on the link, you'll be able to put your name in, and so we'll see who you are. Simon, what comes from the heart goes to the heart. Yes, very true. Yes, there you go. Okay. They both come up in quick succession now. Pamela, you've been through a hell of a lot in your lifetime. And out of all of the things that you've been through as a business owner, as you know, we've all had a life behind the business as well. Well, some of us have anyway. There's some people that would like a bit more life outside of the business, I'm sure. What would you say is one thing, if you had a confession where you could say, you know what, actually, I don't really talk about this very often, but here's something that I did and I would never do it that way again. what would that be?
I would say about going small and playing it small. A lot of times, at least in my life, there were times around family, and believe me, I have two beautiful daughters that I love. I lost my husband 2.5 years ago of 41 years, who was my best friend. And, sometimes even in the joy of life, I realized at one point how small I had made myself and how I was kind of wearing two masks, probably a lot more than that, but at least two. And one was the face that I wanted to show the world, and the other was my authentic self. And what I would say is every morning when you look in the mirror, look at yourself and say, I am more beautiful than I have ever been. And love yourself. Look to what lights you up. When you are with clients, when you're building a business, no matter what it is, find that commonality in the heart, the part of you that lights up, that lights them up. Listen, pay attention. Go to the heart, as this gentleman said. The heart goes to the heart, and light yourself up. So ask yourself, because sometimes we get a little diverted, especially when there's stuff going on like right now, where there's so much fear mongering going on. And take a minute to stop when the wah, 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 wah gets really overwhelming and it can paralyze you. And stop for a minute. Rub your hands together. Feel your own warmth. Go into a place within in your own heart. Listen to the beating of your own heart. Tune into your own breath and ask yourself, does this take me closer to my heart or farther away? And your heart will give you the answer.
Didn't realize I was muted still then. That is a beautiful question. Does this take me closer to the heart, or does it take me further away from it? And that is something that is becoming a theme. I've been going live every day at the same time for the last 3 months. And I was doing it a couple of weeks in December as well. So, we've done quite a few interviews in that time. And I would say every single interview has had an element of this woven through it. The playing small, the not speaking out or saying what you felt that you would have done, or, hiding it inside, keeping it all in. And, I recognized that I had a lot of throat infections. And I'd have maybe 3 or 4 throat infections every year when I was a child, right up until my adulthood. And it wasn't until I learned about the power of emotion and holding it all in. And actually, like, if you're constantly getting something here, that's because there's something you've got to say. And I didn't know any of that stuff. But it went back to easily when I was like 2 years old. I've done a lot of work on it. But, there are still a lot of people that are holding it in and not saying the truth. They're not speaking from the heart. I think there's a difference between speaking the truth and speaking from the heart, because speaking from the heart, I guess, is that is pure, whereas speaking your truth might be only your truth. It might not be everybody's truth. So I think maybe there's a differentiation there. Guys and girls, what do you think? What does that mean to you? And beautifully expressed, absolutely. Pamela, you've got some goodies to give us this evening. Now, I'm very excited about this because we haven't had anybody that has done any kind of sound healing, or, you know, like Judith Quinn, she usually does something like this. We haven't interviewed Judith yet, or for a long time anyway. So you've got some goodies there. Why don't you take us into some of those amazing things that you were showing me on the screen before we went live?
Wonderful. Thank you. So, although I love all my woo-woo metaphysical instruments, I'd like you to know that you have whatever you need, no matter what your belief system is, no matter where you are in your life, you have what you need to
I don't know if you can see me or if I'm totally silent.
I'm hoping that it is live again. Okay, let's see. I'm going to try by clearing some energy by ringing some bells. And I invite you to go within, inhaling deeply and exhaling completely. Inhaling peace and light and love. Exhaling joy and laughter, radiant good health, kindness and strength. And I'm going now to invite you to go within, into your heart, into your throat to speak your truth. And I'm going to ask this bowl to play me. And I invite you now to go into your solar plexus, the area under the ribs and to the root. As many of us need, the color of this chakra is yellow, sunshine yellow. And let's call in the sunshine of radiant good health for all of us. Inhaling deeply and exhaling completely. And allow yourself to feel the vibration of love and sunshine entering every pore and every cell. And slowly begin to bring yourself back within, and know that no matter where you are, you can take a breath, you can stop, rub your palms together, create some warmth like you're making a campfire with a stick. And when you've got some warmth going in your hands, place them over your eyes, go within, place them on your heart if you feel called to place them on your heart. And in one breath, you can bring yourself to a place of peace. And all the wah, 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 wah can melt away as you tune into yourself and listen with your heart. And I want to end this little session with something that I often do, because it's not just about the heart, it's about love. And I just want to feel me looking into your eyes and inhale deeply with me. Bring your hands into prayer pose. I love you. Love you, love you, love you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. My gosh, what a gift you have been for us today. Thank you. That was amazing. That's a first. and it was amazing, and it was so needed. I think the whole planet needs everything that we've talked about on this discussion today, but just that little meditation at the end, I very much hope that you have that recorded somewhere so that we can get access to all that we need to get centered and grounded and back to our heart space. Have you got that recorded somewhere that we can access that?
I do. Well, I wouldn't have that recorded, but you can go. I have a beautiful website called Sound Healing Source, all together, www.soundhealingsource.com. And also, if you look up Pamela Kirkpatrick on YouTube, there are several recordings. And I also have an album called Healing Tides that you can access through the website. And so there's some clips. There's different things that you can access. And of course, you can always reach out to me and call me. Sometimes I do custom things for people for whatever they're going through. Or since we are talking about brands, just like we create sometimes sound brands so that when people hear you, they hear sound that I create for you. And then it takes them right away into your resonance of what you offer.
Right.
So thank you.
I've never heard of that before.
Well, you know what? You probably have and don't even realize it. I mean, we have our media here in the United States. There's one of the big television channels that you hear bum, 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 or jingles of commercials. Like, we actually are used to sound in medicine and in business. But again, those of us that are looking to build our brands, I would say bring in some sound, because it will immediately unlock and connect to people in a very unique way.
Amazing. So many gifts that we've been given today. Pamela, thank you so much for being such a gift to all of us. And gosh, the world needs you right now. Totally needs you. Please, guys and girls watching this, whether you're watching it live with us today or whether you're watching the replay, do please go to YouTube, subscribe to the How to Build a Brand YouTube channel. You'll find all of the Confessions of a Global Changemaker interviews on there. Make sure you go and share this one. Share it, because there are people right now that need to hear this message. When somebody has been through the Holocaust, when somebody has brought up 2 children to become massive forces for change in the world, when those 2 children become beautiful grown-up women that are massive change makers, that are doing the most extraordinary things, I think that their light deserves to be shared. So thank you so much for joining us today, Pamela, and to those of you that have joined us live and are joining us online, thank you, thank you, thank you. Pamela, is there anything that you would like to end with before we go?
I would just say this: be kind to yourself, love yourself. And when you can be kind and loving to yourself, please share that with others. Send you
kisses while it streams.
And until we meet again, may there be peace in your heart, peace in your home, and peace on our planet. I love you very much. I hope that came through. And laugh. Remember,
I love you too. Thank you so much. How could we follow that? I mean, we have another amazing change maker tomorrow, but this is going to be hard to follow, Pamela. You know, you've made it quite a tough job for the next person that's following you. Let's have a look and see who has the tough job for tomorrow. We have who have we got? We have Leslie Atkinson. So we've got Leslie Atkinson, another awakening giant tomorrow. And on Thursday, we have the amazing David Shepherd, who is like an incredible guru with becoming a master of influence. Like, he has trained many thousands of people how to communicate effectively, how to become that master of sales, but doing it from a place of integrity and not trying to influence just to get the sale. So I'm really looking forward to digging in with David Shepherd this week. And on Friday we have Lauren Cohen, who supports business owners to go global. So she's been through a lot of things in her lifetime. She specializes in law. She's seen and done a lot of things, and so I think it'd be great for us to dig in with Lauren on Friday. So take care, guys and girls. Thank you so much for showing up for yourself and for showing up for each other. Remember, share this replay, go to the YouTube channel, subscribe, make sure you don't miss out on any of the amazing interviews that we're doing, and I will look forward to seeing you in the group. Mwah! Lots of love. Thank you, Pamela.
Thank you.
Bye.